Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the January 25th, 2022 Board of Selectmen meeting. May I have a roll call, please?
All 5 selectmen are present, as well as Town Administrator Derek Sullivan.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask Mr. Manise, could you do the Pledge of Allegiance for us, please?
I can.
Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to start out the announcements tonight with some sad news. Ray Cardoza, we gave him a certificate of appreciation a couple of months ago, and unfortunately he passed last week. I would like to read a little bit of his obituary, and then I'd like a moment of silence. Raymond D. Cardoza, Sr., 88 of Wareham. He was born in Bourne. He was the son of the late Manuel Cardoza and Antonia Montero Cardoza. He was a Korean War era veteran. He served as a senior vice commander of the Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 2846, graduated from Bourne High School, attended UMass Amherst and Bridgewater Teachers College. He was a self-employed building contractor as well as a real estate broker. And the good stuff. Mr. Cardoza served on the Wareham Finance Committee, the Conservation Committee, and was elected to the Housing Authority, the Board of Assessors. He served as chairman of the Board of Selectmen. He was the moderator for the Onset Fire and Water District and chairman of the Onset Prudential Committee. He was a charter member and first president of the Cape Verde Islands Relief Association and served as chairman of the Democratic Town Committee. It's also noted that Mr. Cardoza was the first person of Cape Verdean descent to hold a high senior position in elected office in the United States. He greatly enjoyed competitive sports, and he is survived by his children, a lot of whom of his relatives are here with us tonight. So I want to say Godspeed, Ray, and may I have a moment of silence for him, please. Thank you. We will go to, I guess I'll finish up my announcements. Why not?
Mr. Bowen just got on, so he is with us as well.
Thank you. We have the dog licenses and the census reports are due. Dog licenses are in the office at the town clerk's office and available, and the census reports were mailed to you and due back. If you didn't get one and you live here, you need to go to the clerk's office or contact the clerk's office to get that taken care of, please. The library board of trustees has 3 vacancies right now, and they're expecting that they may have as many as 5 come spring. So we are looking for volunteers to serve on the Board of Library Trustees. Their information is on the website and up to date. I want to say good evening to Jerry Barrows and his wife. Jerry and his wife always were at the Selectmen's meeting when we were in room 320. And I know that they spend some time watching us live on TV. So I just want to say, guys, we miss you. And to the people who are invited to speak before the board this evening, if you would raise your hand, for instance, if you have an application, if you would raise your hand so that we can recognize you. I've given Mr. White a list of everybody's names that I expect to speak, but it makes it a little bit easier for him to recognize you and pick you out of the audience. Okay. Mr. Slavin, your announcements, please. Oh, one more, excuse me, really important. I knew I had this. The first meeting of the DECA Steering Committee is scheduled as a Zoom meeting for this coming Monday at 6 p.m. The link is on the website. At this first meeting, the members will, I will convene the meeting, and then the members will have time to talk about picking a chair and a clerk, and they will then be able to figure out whether Mondays at 6 is a good time for them. It may not be for all of them, and they'll be able to work that out by themselves. But I just wanted to let everyone know that that meeting, that group is going to start meeting on Monday. Thank you. Go ahead, Mr. Slavin.
Okay, all I have for the announcements is to let everybody know that our former Red Sox player, David Ortiz, was elected into the Hall of Fame, and it's the only one going in this year. Thank you.
Mr. Muniz. This is.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Titlebaum, announcements? You're muted, bud. You're muted.
Mute.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, normally I would just save this for liaison reports, but it's been kind of an ongoing thing here. Earlier today, the redevelopment authority voted 5-0-0 to recommend a new RFP to the Board of Selectmen to review and hopefully approve for the Tremont Nail Factory property. We did this once before. We went through the process, selected a master developer and so on and so forth. They came back with a proposal that sort of altered the playing field. They wanted a long-term lease that would involve town meeting action and so on and so forth. So we decided to pull it back and reissue the RFP so that nobody could say, well, I didn't know it was going to be this, blah, 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 and to make the process a little more straightforward for anybody who's interested in submitting a response to the RFP. So that will be coming to the board next week, and I will be asking the chairman to put that on the agenda for us to review and vote. It will get out to you before the agenda is sent out. We made some changes to it today. Just going to go back and confirm the changes were all in there, and it'll be sent out certainly no later than tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
So hopefully we can finally get cracking on doing something with the property.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Mr. Tropiano?
I have nothing.
Thank you, sir. We will now go to town residents' comments. And I see no one raising their hand. And then we will move on to the next item, which would be board comments. Mr. Slavin.
Just as a backup to Peter, we've had several properties on Main Street have just been recently sold along the water side. Hopefully we'll get some impetus to go ahead and do things with that when the WRA has their program coming up. And I believe I'll probably get in trouble with this one. I know Eastern Bank is up for sale. I don't think they're going to be moving for about a year. I am not sure who is actually buying it or has bought it, but just to give everybody a heads up on that. For the solar committee that's working, unfortunately, the state is about to unload a new solar bylaw or regulations about how the town can regulate and not regulate against solar projects. This particular new law coming down the line is very, it limits us greatly. It really is going to make solar not only easier to do, but also the amount of solar, they're doubling it. I think it's 1,600 megawatts, some ridiculous number. It's obvious that they want to complete Governor Baker's promise of being, carbon free and everything else within 10 years. So this new regulation coming down, we'll have to look at as well, because it may eliminate any ability for us to stop solar fields. And let's see if I get anything else worthwhile. Oh yeah, we have unfortunately a nor'easter, which we haven't had in a while, coming up the coast, and it looks like it's going to be a good one. So I suggest everybody be well prepared for what could be a very large storm for us, depending which way it tracks. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Muniz?
I'm good, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Titlebaum?
No, I don't have anything to add. Thank you.
Thanks. Mr. Tropiano?
No, I'm all set.
And I'm all set as well. We have no appointments, reappointments, or interviews, so we'll go to licenses and permits, please.
The application from Chipotle Mexican Grill of Colorado LLC, DBA Chipotle Mexican Grill, 3920 1 Seth F. Toby Road, West Wareham, Mass. For new common vicular license.
And I was expecting an individual named Raj Kapadia. I don't see him. Is there somebody here representing Chipotle? Could you raise your hand, please?
I believe, I could be wrong, Judy, I saw a note that they weren't going to be able to make it.
You saw a note, what?
I saw a note come in, I think, to the selectman's office. They weren't going to be able to make it.
Okay, thank you. Then we will skip over it. They actually are not even open, so I don't have a problem with skipping over this at the moment, unless you guys want to go ahead and approve it without hearing from the manager.
I think it's okay. They're supposed to open up January 31st, actually.
Yeah, I move we approve the application of Chipotle Mexican Grill.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion and a second. All of the paperwork is in order. The reason it took so long to get one of the sign-offs was because it's a new building and you can't do an inspection on a new building until it's done. So we're within the time frame that makes sense for them. I have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on the motion to approve the application? I will call for a roll call vote, please. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
and myself, yes, 500. Thank you.
Next is the application for Point Independence Yacht Club, DBA Point Independence Yacht Club, 15 Independence Lane, Onset, Mass. For a change of manager, renewal of the year-round common vicular all alcoholic beverage license for Stevie B. Oh, I'm sorry. They ran together. I'm reading it down. Let's do Independence Yacht Club first.
Okay. I was expecting a man. Oh, Greg, is that you, Greg? Yes. Would you let Greg in? I'm presuming your last name is Bucant. You're representing. Yes, thank you.
He's in, just muted.
Yeah, Greg, we can't see you and we can't hear you. So if you could cure that, thank you. Could you introduce yourself, please, sir?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm having a little difficulty with the Zoom technology. I don't know if it's my system or potentially me, but I apologize.
No problem.
Yeah, so I'm here to represent Point Independence Yacht Club, and I appreciate you taking a look at the change of manager application that would that we applied for most recently.
Thank you. Does any member of the board have any questions of Mr. Would you pronounce your last name for me, sir?
Yes, no problem. Of course, you're not the first to have a problem with it. It's Bucant, B-U-K-U-N-T, Bucant.
Yeah. Okay, Buchan.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're
Any
welcome.
gentlemen have any questions of the young man? Okay, great. I'll accept a motion. All of the paperwork is in order.
So moved. Approval of change of manager for the applicant, Independence Yacht Club, DBA Point Independence Yacht Club, 15 Independence Lane, Onset, Mass.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion on the motion? I will go for a roll call, please. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Tropiano,
Yes, and I'm glad I didn't have to say his name.
and myself, yes, 500. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the next one. Thank you, Mr. Buchan.
He's
Yep,
probably
thank you.
glad too.
The next one is in here.
Thanks, bye.
Oh,
night.
for
Good
an
night.
all alcoholic beverage license for Stevie B's DBA Onset Sports Resort, 270 Onset Ave, Onset, for the year of 2022 under the provisions of Chapter 138 Massachusetts General Law. This is a renewal, I believe.
It is.
It's a renewal and it's late because even though Mr. Beranger applied and got the ABCC license, We had a little bit of miscommunication that he needs to apply and hold that license while even though he is closed, and we know that he is closed because he's come before us to represent that. I don't
Right.
see him as an attendee, so I will accept a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Is there any further discussion?
Yeah, that's an approve and hold, right? On the license. As there's no inspections and there's no, our town,
That's correct. There are no inspections at all. The only thing we did was
Right.
collect the fee.
correct. So that's an approve and hold until he either opens a business or transfers it and has the inspections done. Is that correct?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Vote.
Okay,
Is that your motion, Mr. Tropiano?
My motion is exactly what I said it is. My motion is to renew his license. And the license is already held because we've already done such a thing on the last vote. So I'm not going to vote that again.
Okay,
My second still stays.
okay, great. I know that we did mention, and we talked about the holding before, Mr. Manise. I think was covered, sir.
so it's
Yeah,
approve
all-
and hold then, right?
Yeah, because it's already in hold. Okay, I will go for a roll call vote, please. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500. Thank you very much.
Madam Moderator, excuse me, Madam Chairman, I'm tired already today. On this particular license, we should put a note to the file for the Selectmen's office to check back with Steve in 6 months to see what his status is. That
Thank
was the
you.
original agreement we had with him.
Yes,
That'd
sir.
be-
Thank you. The next is under town business is the discussion and the possible vote regarding the quota breakdown.
Yes. Quota breakdown provision by the Alcohol Beverage Control Commission based on the 2020 Massachusetts Censor population. Now, hold on, because I've got to go get it because it's a rather specific thing. So hang in there. Come on, the Massachusetts Department of Alcoholic Beverage and Control. Here we go. All right. Basically, this is a quota breakdown, and I move that we approve the annual quota breakdown as presented, and it's in your packet because there's a lot of it's 25 this and blah 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 and so on and so forth. So
Excellent. As presented, may I have a second to that?
Second.
A motion made a second. Is there any further discussion of the issue? We just need to approve this. They've given you a lot of information, and it shows our annual, our seasonals, et cetera.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. sir.
Does it show the additional licenses that will be allowed?
It doesn't show the
No.
prospective licenses that are currently before the legislature, which would be 59 Main, whatever the machine shop one is, or the 5 that we've asked for in the liquor district for Wareham Village 1. So those are not included here because those haven't been created by the legislature yet.
But are we showing the 2 or 3 additional because of the population change?
I don't believe so because I think it's as of the December 20th.
Okay, I just want to double check that what we're releasing. Thank you.
all
You're
right. So
welcome.
I also need to. I'd like to let you know the movie theater is now officially closed. It will be by the end of next week. They'll be out of there. By the end of this week, actually, they're going to be out of there. Now the issue is that they have a license that is specific for that site only.
That's right.
Got to plan on requesting the legislature to move that, to be able to move that license, because if you remember right, the people that bought it was Eversource, and they're not going to be using the license at all there. So that spot doesn't need it. But there may be another spot out there that we may be able to put it in, and that'll require us to request the legislature allow us to transfer it.
So that would go to the town meeting, am I correct?
I don't think it has to go to town meeting.
Mr.
No.
Mr. Bowen is shaking his head, yes.
It does?
Mr. Bowen, could you speak to
That
the issue, sir?
Madam Chairman, frankly, I wasn't prepared to address this particular one, but if my recollection is correct, the legislature required that the license be limited to a particular location. And maybe it was even to a particular business. I don't remember that part of it.
Good location.
And if it's proposed to be moved to a different location, that's something that the legislature is not allowed. And you'd have to get the legislature to lift that restriction. And usually the way you get the legislature to lift a restriction in a piece of existing special legislation is by asking for additional special legislation that makes the change. Typically that would go through town meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So it really probably doesn't matter then.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, they could surrender, they could abandon the use and somebody else, if somebody else comes along, they can just ask for their own premises license. I mean, that's the way we've been handling it, given the shortage of licenses we've had for the past, since I've been on the board, really.
Renewed it. Not renewed it already?
no, they didn't renew it.
No, they didn't renew.
Then it's just gone anyway. So
Yeah,
that's
it's just lapsed.
all
Okay,
right.
We have one other one at the same time frame that we did over at in front of Walmart in the Robinsons property, which they've gone ahead and put other businesses in. So it was actually a license sitting out for, I think it was Unit B or C, whatever it was, and it was never used. So that's another one of our special licenses that's sitting there that can't be used right now.
Yeah.
I'll ask the office to research what I'll call things hanging out there, okay? Thank you for bringing that up. I have a motion and a second to approve as submitted. Is there any further discussion? I'll go for a roll call vote then, please. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes,
Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
and myself, yes, 500.
Okay, I move we accept the donation of $750 to the Wareham Animal Gift Account.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. This donation was made by a very generous individual who feels blessed to have the ability to give the funds and knows that there are people who need help taking care of their animals. So that is a very much appreciated gift. Any further comments on the motion? Roll call vote, please. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum.
Perry votes yes.
Mr. Tropiano
Yes.
and myself, yes. Thank you.
Okay, accept the gift of $8,068.32 from South Coast Hospital.
Sorry.
Second,
And then I believe that has to do with the Christmas trees, right? Does it not?
I think it is. Is it Mr. Sullivan? Is that $8,000 donation?
You just have to let me get a minute to get to the unmute button. It's
Okay,
Ah,
thanks.
yes, that is. So it was very generous of them. That represents the trees and the lighting. So you can see where we were only requiring $25 that it wouldn't have worked if they weren't helping underwrite the whole program. So it was really awesome of them to step up. So
Great.
greatly
Thank you so much. Motion made and seconded to accept the gift in the amount of $8,068.32. Any further discussion?
Question through you, Madam Moderator, to Town Administrator Sullivan.
Don't call me moderator
I
again,
mean,
please.
Madam Chairperson.
You're gonna get
Alan,
Mrs.
your fault.
Smith really angry at me.
It's,
Yes,
it's
go
all,
ahead.
it's all my fault, Jim. Don't worry.
I thought I saw on it did that come out of the Town Administrator's gift account?
Yeah, so we'd put it when we
You want it
accepted the
back
funds,
there?
so put it back in. Yeah, so.
Okay, so that should be in the motion?
Yeah, if you actually, thanks, Jim. Yeah, that'd be good because that's one of the types of things we use it for, so we can pay for these things.
Okay, and so the motion is to return it to the gift count. The town
accept the
moderator.
donation and replenish the gift account.
Administrator.
Okay. Motion made and seconded to accept the gift and replenish the town administrator's account. Roll call vote. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Tropiano,
Yes.
Whiteside, yes, 500.
Next
And then
is,
we have a ratify of a hiring.
yep, Shannon Wilkins. How'd they do? All right, huh? Not too bad. Grade 3 wastewater operator at the Water Pollution Control Facility. I move we ratify that.
Second.
Oh,
Motion
sorry.
made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Roll call vote, please, Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
and myself, yes, that's it. And now we will go to discussion and vote to place articles on February 22nd, 2022 special town meeting warrant. And you gentlemen this afternoon got the 2 suggested articles.
What would you like to do?
I don't know, Mr. Tropiano, are you gonna,
Yeah, I'm just looking at the end of the warrant here. I don't know what's happening there, but,
Okay.
okay. Yes, I can do that for you.
thank you.
In 2 seconds here. And you have the addition. I have to go to the second page. Where the heck is it? What the hell? Oh, I know why. I know. It was inside of another place to find it. Okay, here we go. You ready? What the heck happened to it? I got it. Don't worry. It's here. It's here. It's here.
Okay,
Don't worry. I don't know where the hell it is, but it's here.
I can put it on the screen if you want.
oh,
I
that
got-
would be wonderful.
Be better, but okay, I got it here. I just found it. It's a separate thing, so.
Okay,
Okay, Article 1, you can flip it up there. Article 1 is golf course purchase. And it's to see if the town will vote to appropriate $2,600,000 more or less, pay the cost of acquiring all land, buildings, personal property of the Little Harbor Golf Club, so-called as more particularly described in a filing titled Golf Course Purchase in the office of the town clerk, including the payment of all costs, including necessary improvements, incidental and relative thereto, for general recreation purposes, and to determine whether this amount shall be raised by borrowing or otherwise raised and or transferred from available funds, or to do or act in any manner relative thereto.
we have a second?
Second.
Second,
Okay.
motion made and seconded. I will tell you that this language has been approved by bond counsel. And it entitles, it enables the town to borrow, it explains everything that it allows the town to do.
The
Are
next
there
one,
any questions?
Yep.
Then I will accept a motion to place it on the warrant,
so moved.
Second for discussion.
certainly. Motion made and seconded for discussion. Mr. Titlebaum?
Yeah, first off, I'd like to thank Chairman Whiteside for all the work she's put in on this. This involves countless meetings, discussions, negotiations with the current owners, along with the town administrator, so on and so forth. The reason I'm putting it up for discussion is, the funding question hasn't really been decided yet. And of course, we have another article to consider that would be a community preservation article that, should they approve the application that's being submitted, then that would be something that people would vote on. I think in terms of this article, the only thing I would ask, it would be to town council, and would general recreation purposes preclude the ability of the town to do any sort of development that might offset the cost of purchase here? Because if there's one thing we've learned from the whole Bay Point, permitting saga that began, I think, in like, 2013 or whatever, and is still ongoing as they build more down there. It's that people love to live on golf courses. So I'm just putting that out there. But I'd like to know if we are completely restricting ourselves out of doing that by using the general recreation purposes term.
That is to Mr. Bowen. Is that your correct question,
Yes.
sir? Mr. Bowen, if you choose to answer. You're muted, sir.
I
Thank
thought I'd get away with that.
Yeah, nice try.
We usually can read each other's mind, but he needs to speak in public on this one.
Yeah, I've done some research into how public golf courses are viewed in terms of whether they are restricted by virtue of being recreational facilities. And there is a strong school of thought that if something is a golf course, it's subject to Article 97 of the state's Articles of Amendment of the state constitution, which would allow, in this case, only the use of the land for recreation or, I suppose, open space. And other uses would require not only a 2/3 vote of town meeting, but a 2/3 vote of both houses of the legislature and approval of the governor before any part of the golf course property could be put to another use.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Mr. Titlebaum?
Yeah, that answers the question. And since there still might be a possibility for either this board or a future board or a future town meeting to want to go the route that I put out there, just because it's a slightly harder route, I'm heartened that it's still available. I mean, by the 2/3 and so on and so forth with the state legislature. So I can support the article as it stands. I do think it would be prudent to try to look into adding value to the property. Right now it's being taxed under 61B, and I think that's 25% of what it would be taxed otherwise. We're going to lose even that 25% once we take it over. So, I think perhaps, it might be a good idea down the road to take a look into trying to do something a little bit different. I think it protects the taxpayers a little better that way. The other thing is if you want to keep it as a golf course, one of the things that we've been hearing all through all of the development discussions all over town in terms of redevelopment with the redevelopment authority and what you should do here, there, and everywhere, is that if you want something to succeed, bring people to the place. And by bring people to the place, it's meant, create housing, put something there that people, want to be there. And then they will help, maintain the use of a place. They create a ready audience and so on and so forth. So that's part of what I'm thinking about here too. But anyway, my question's been answered and I'm fine. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Slavin.
This is a little different situation. I understand where Peter's coming from, because normally for me, I was instrumental in getting the zoning change for Bay Point to allow them to develop housing and mixed use in there in order for that golf course to survive. In this case here, the owners of the golf course in the process of wanting to sell made it pretty clear they wanted to stay as a golf course and no development except that. A couple of us, basically, probably three of us at least, have committed, to the owners that we would try and do that if all possible, if the town bought the golf course. Article 2, which is going to come up, basically puts the onus on the Community Preservation Committee to basically help fund it. And if it does, then what happens is there will be some kind of a restriction on the property automatically if that happens, even if it's not a full, payment of the property. So again, I'm happy that Rich explained that, I think it's in Chapter 97 there, which I know already pre-existed as far as open space and recreation, if the town was to buy it the way it falls. So it kind of covers us all the way through, and it shows that we'll try it all, basically all possibilities to try and keep it as a golf course, as basically promised to the owners, if at all possible. I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to give you some information. It's Article 97 of the Constitution. It's not a chapter of the law. Okay. The tax in the income that we receive from the total property per annum is approximately $18,000. So it's not nothing. I understand that. But it is not an enormous amount of money. And I would also point out that Little Harbor has been around since 1960. It incorporated in a different name in 1964, but it's been a golf course since 1960. Bay Point and Little Harbor has 54.33 acres. Bay Point has substantially more landscape and is a very different kind of course. It has holes on sides of hills and so on. We've received many letters of support from people who play at Little Harbor and who in fact live at Bay Point. And they choose to live at Bay Point and play at Bay Point, but they really enjoy playing at Little Harbor. I will just leave it at that. Mr. Muniz, I know you walked the property the other day. Do you choose to comment? Other than, going out when it was 20 below or something and the wind was blowing.
It wasn't bad, really.
Oh, good.
Nice piece of property, nice for open space, has an active recreational purpose in addition to just open space and passive recreation. Has a possibility of hopefully and being self-funding, depending on how the actual golf management works out.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with the way the article is written, and let's see what the citizens of the town would like to do.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Mr. Muniz. Thank you. And thank you for taking the walk on the course. Mr. Tropiano, I don't know if you're still there or not. Do you choose to comment on it at all, sir?
No, I'm quite happy with us going forward with this. I think it's, believe it or not, it's one of the few things that we have left for recreation in the whole town. To me, in my opinion, it's between the beach and that we have down there, that's a town beach, and the golf course. I think that is a terrific area. It's a nice space to keep it a golf course. Some people asked about what birds are there, what squirrels are there, whatever. Well, they're all going to stay there, which is a good thing, in my opinion. And they're not going to be moved out by somebody buying this place and throwing a bunch of houses in its place. And I think it's a very big asset.
Okay, great. Thank you. I have a motion and a second and no further discussion. The motion is to place that article on the warrant for the spring special town meeting. I will go for a roll call vote, please. Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Muniz,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
and myself, yes, 500. It is included on the warrant.
Okay.
Mr. Tropiano, the second one, please.
To see if the town will vote to appropriate from the community preservation funds a sum of money to assist in the acquisition of Little Harbor Country Club, so called as more particularly described in a filing titled Golf Course Purchase on file in the office of the town clerks. Such assistance to be in the form of a lump sum payment of debt service or combination thereof, and further to authorize the Board of Selectmen to convey a use restriction to an accredited nonprofit organization or take any other action relative thereto.
Second for discussion.
Thank you. Motion made and seconded for discussion. I want to just tell you that the placing of this article on the warrant precedes the CPC meeting of tomorrow evening, where they are hearing Mr. Sullivan with an application for some funding. And the chair and the committee have been very gracious in accepting that application. And I have discussed the fact that we are actually putting the article on before the CPC has had an opportunity to finalize their vote. They did hear a preliminary application on January 12th. There were some questions, and a lot of the questions, particularly about the requirements of a survey and what's the other one? Can't even remember. Oh, an appraisal have been taken care of. So, and so we have talked with CPC. We're not jumping the gun, if you will. Mr. Titlebaum, do you have any questions?
Well, it's just sort of an observation. I'll vote to put this on the warrant. I don't know that when the time comes, I'll vote to recommend it. My concern is we're mixing preservation with profit. And I understand CPC has, something like 6 million in the coffers, and it's certainly, money that we, probably need to start spending. I just don't, we're trying to serve two different masters in doing that. And I just think that's going to lead to potential problems down the road. But that's just my observation. I'll vote to put it on the warrant and let the people who show up at town meeting decide.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Tropiano, did you have a comment?
No, I'm good. I'm ready to vote.
Okay, Mr. Slavin, any comments?
Again, when this was originally proposed about buying the golf course, I made the comment publicly that I was hoping that we could use community preservation funds to minimize any cost to our taxpayers. And I'm still hoping that this is the way it'll come through. And knowing that up front, I knew there would have to be some kind of conservation restriction on the property and would basically eliminate us taking some of the lots that are there and developing for housing, et cetera, which in this particular case, I was more than happy to accept, if we could basically save the taxpayers money at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Manise, do you have any comments, sir?
No, not on this particular warrant article, no. Thank you.
Thank you. I would also note that Wareham Land Trust was on the site visit last Saturday. They were able to find all but 2, I think, of the bounds, as I recall them saying. The reason Wareham Land Trust was on the site visit was because if the town is to put a conservation restriction or land use restriction on the property, we must have a CR or a restriction holder. And I have been talking with Wareham Land Trust since last October, when they offered to step forward and help achieve this. So I want to thank them. Any further discussion?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I just want to bring up you'll notice there's not a article for establishing an enterprise fund for this. If it were to go through, we would put that in the spring annual town meeting if this were to pass. The reason for that is we've already set the tax rate, so you couldn't establish an enterprise fund until you're doing it wouldn't count till July 1 anyways. So just but that would be one of the ideas going forward. Not something I usually do, but this was, I guess I'm trying to get some scuttlebutt out of the way before it takes off. And I think Selectman Manise can help me on this one. Mr. Manise, in our discussions with Mass Audubon, they were interested in partnering with the town, I think, through getting the community preservation funds, but we were told they had no interest in keeping that as a golf course. And when we met with them and asked to, could we do anything to partner up that way? And we were told no way. So correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, that's correct. And then there was a meeting they tried to set up.
Yeah.
But they were on vacation, you were going on vacation.
Yeah.
And they took the vote to not pursue because of a number of reasons within the town. And so, I believe they're still in support of keeping it as an open space. I don't want to put words in their mouths.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's what it is. I mean, regardless of what happens going forward on a golf course or not, it's a preservation of open space, but it has an active recreational component with it. So, I mean, it's That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Mr. Sullivan, may I just add to what you were saying? The survey that we were able to acquire was actually one that Massachusetts Audubon paid for. They were willing to share it with the town because I believe that shows real support. You don't just hand over a document like that without recognizing that you are supporting the cause to which you're giving it. Boy, I tried not to add that sentence with a preposition, but yes, that was the survey that we got and very much appreciated.
Yeah, and I think we owe them a thank you for that. That was they didn't, didn't
Didn't they
have
get
much
praise?
for it.
No, they didn't have to give it to us and they did, and that's wonderful. Any further discussion? I will go for roll call vote, please. Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Slavin, you're muted. Yes.
Yes, Madam Moderator,
Oh
Chairman.
my God, don't do that. Mr. Manise,
Yes.
myself, yes, 500. Thank you very much. May I have a motion to close the warrant, please?
So moved.
Second.
Second,
Motion made to close the warrant as done. Motion, any further discussion on that motion? No? Roll call vote, Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Slavin,
yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
myself, yes. Gentlemen, please, tomorrow morning, go sign your name for the warrant. It's on, hold it up. It looks like this, okay? We need you. Thank you so much. Where are we? Any other
MSBA.
business? We'll go to the town administrator's report, please.
Judy, isn't it
Oh, I'm
G and
sorry. I'm sorry.
the MSBA?
Yep, there's one more item of regular business.
Item G.
Accelerated program. Yeah.
Oh, I don't have it on mine, but go ahead. Yep, go ahead.
I don't have it on mine either.
Yeah, I don't have it on the posted warrant. I think I had to
No,
take it off.
I
This one-
printed out the posted warrant. So if you want, I can read it off the posted agenda. If you want.
It
I
is on the
can-
posted agenda, sir?
Well, yeah, I printed it off, so I'd have it to work off of while we were going through the,
Okay, go ahead. If
Yeah.
you would read it then, sir.
Judy, did you go ahead and pull that off for the following week?
Yes, I
Wasn't it-
did.
Yeah,
I pulled it off because there was specific language that we needed to have read. So I have it on next week's agenda.
I make a motion that we bypass it for this week.
Is
Yeah,
there-
second.
Mr.
Second, we'll
Sullivan?
take it up next week.
Mr. Sullivan, you're muted, Mr. Sullivan.
We have the specific language. It was sent to you. And I thought it was on the posted agenda. Am I wrong?
what I
The
read.
agenda only has an item here, vote to approve application to MSBA Accelerated Program Feasibility Study for Wareham High School and Wareham Middle School, but that's not the lingo that was sent to us that they asked, that the MSBA wants for the motion. That's just our notice. So we'd have to,
I think we should put it off because my agenda does not have it on it. So we have at least two of us who don't have the article on the agenda.
well, if you look at what we had sent out with all the backup, we just got the first page of the agenda. So maybe that's your difficulty.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
Well, Madam
Mr.
Chair, why
Sullivan?
don't I'm just going to go to the website and pull up the agenda.
Yes, I did. It's on there.
And if it's
Okay.
on there, it's on there.
All right,
Yeah.
if it's on there, then go for it.
Yeah, that's what Jim found too.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
fine. Then
yeah,
I'll
and I'm
accept
not-
a motion.
I'll remove my motion.
Okay, thank you.
I'll remove my second. Do you want me to just read this off?
Sure,
Go ahead.
please.
Okay, my motion is middle school, that the Wareham School Committee appropriate the amount of $95,000 for the purpose of paying costs of the Wareham Middle School roof replacement feasibility study. The Wareham Middle School is located at 7 Viking Drive, Wareham, Mass. The district will be responsible for the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, and for which the town of Wareham may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, said amount to be expended under the direction of the Wareham School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the district will pay from revolving accounts $95,000. Wareham acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any costs which Wareham incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the district.
Second.
Second, motion made and seconded. Is there any further discussion of the motion? Then I will call for a roll call vote. Mr. Sullivan, could you please forward that to Ms. Slaney?
Yeah.
Thank you.
There's two parts to that also.
Right. There's a middle school and then there's a high school. If you want to take them separately or together, it's however, it's your choice.
Well, probably separately.
Okay.
Okay, so what is your motion then?
The motion is what I read off on the screen, and it was seconded, I believe, by Alan.
Motion
Yes.
made and seconded. Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor, I will go for a roll call. Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
and myself, yes, 500. Thank you.
So now we need the high school.
Now
one.
this high school one. Would you read that, please, sir?
Yeah, this will be my motion. High school, that the Wareham School Committee appropriates the amount of $75,000 for the purposes of paying costs of the Wareham High School boiler replacement feasibility study. The Wareham High School is located at 4 Viking Drive, Wareham, Mass. The district will be responsible for the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, and for which the town of Wareham may be eligible for a grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, said amount to be expended under the direction of the Wareham School Building Committee. To meet this appropriation, the district will access $75,000 from revolving accounts. Wareham acknowledges that the MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any costs which Wareham incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the district.
Thank you. This
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? I will go for a roll call vote then. Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Sullivan. What am I talking about? You
Sullivan.
really got me all going. Mr. Slavin.
Oh, I thought I changed names again. Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And myself, yes, 500. Well, you are calling me moderator. I can call you Sullivan.
No,
I thought you were the chairmanator.
Yeah, I'm the
I-
chair. I'm the chairmanator. That's a good one.
I'd have to gain a lot of weight and get some money.
Okay, we have some minutes, January 26th and February 9th of 2021.
You don't want to hear his report?
I'm going to get rid of those and then we're going to spend some time,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of January 26th and February 9th?
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to approve those two sets of minutes. All those in favor, I'm going to go for a roll call vote.
Excuse
Is
me.
there any further
Excuse me.
discussion?
Yes, excuse me. I'm good on the 26th. I think we have some, at least as it was sent in the package, some problems with the 9th. As
Okay,
it,
we'll hold the 9th out then, sir.
Yeah, I'll withdraw my second for the 9th.
Thank you. Can you withdraw your motion, please?
Yes.
Thank you. And your motion is to approve the 26th?
Yes.
And my
And a
second
second.
is for the 26th.
Thank you. I will go for a roll call vote, please. Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
Titlebaum,
Yes.
Slavin,
Yes.
Manise,
yes,
myself, yes, 500. Now we have some executive session minutes of December 14th, 2021. May I have
Move to approve and hold.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion made and second to approve and hold. Any further discussion on those minutes? Okay. Roll call vote, please. Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Slavin,
Yes.
Mr. Manise.
yes.
Thank you. And myself, yes, 500. It's approve and hold. We will now go back to the town administrator's report because I believe he has a present for us.
What?
What?
What, a Trojan horse?
I don't know. What's the present?
I don't know. What's your report?
Here. I don't know, you're making me nervous, but probably if you've heard on the news lately, now that it's out in the open, we can discuss during an open session. ABC is being acquired by a multi-billion-dollar company. What does that mean for us? We've worked with them for an assignment of the contract for one of the subsidiaries of the new company. The new company is Waste Collections, Inc. They're out of Texas. The subsidiary is actually Harvey and Sons, Inc., which is a Massachusetts company. Some of the good news is basically the ownership. The Camaras will, not that them leaving is good news, but they will be out of it. But the rest of the infrastructure, including the staffing's going to stay, including Mr. Dugan, who we have connections with since going through this program. So still the same people to talk to. We're not getting rerouted to Texas or to one of their Toronto operations. We've done a consent to assign, meaning that they are taking over the contract and they have to live up to all aspects of it. So there should be no change, but there could be some strong benefits with going through with them being acquired by large companies such as this. So we're hoping to get some maybe some better infrastructure, if you will, from some of the operations. I will tell you what Wareham is experiencing for some of the collection delays is nowhere near what I'm seeing in my own community and other communities as well. So the ABC in the midst of still between COVID, between everything that's going on, has done a fantastic job. So
Thank you.
Good news is that Representative Susan Williams Gifford and her staff have actually, we've secured the $50,000 grant for the earmark towards the, not grant, earmark towards the revitalization of Merchants Way. So appreciate all their help. That's something we brought forward in October, and they were able to put it in there, secure it, and we can move forward. If you remember, I sent you a list of the items. We had a substantially, larger ask. It was one of those things, shoot for the moon, and hope you get something else, and that's what we were able to secure. So I think let's get some information together and get some people and see what we can do best with those funds.
Great. Thank you.
And then I think next week I'd ask to put on the agenda the budget, if you will, so we can get that up and going over.
Okay. That will be on next week's agenda?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Thank you. And is that it for your report, sir?
Yeah, I'm just going through some of my notes. Want to make sure. Oh, yeah, just one of the things, and I'm sure I'm actually surprised that Selectman Slavin didn't go over this, so I'm going to scoop him a little bit. Couple unfortunate things is one, I think you have talked about it. It looks like we will stay at the 200 million for Chapter 90 funds, meaning we'll get roughly, $750,000. One of the things we try to explain when people ask about the roads and, when they're repaved or not repaved, if you figure, let's say you've got, we have with the private roads as well about 190, but let's say 150 miles of our roads, and if we're getting 750,000 annually, it costs about $1 million to really do a good mile if you're doing everything about it. So how many years is that going to take you? It's 150 years. So it's tough to hear. We really don't put any other funds out for that, just a small amount for some of the roadside, for some of the repairs, to rely very heavily on Chapter 90 funds. The good news is without it, we really wouldn't be doing anything when you think about it. So The other item is, well, the Commonwealth has had 22% higher than projected tax revenue funds. It looks like they're looking to lock in for 2.7% growth rate for next year. That's what they're looking at. By doing that, what they're saying is our unrestricted general government aid will increase by 2.7%. So when you think about it too, with the chapter 70 funds, we're probably looking at $30 per student we'll get. And I think we're right around what, 2,300 for the enrollment. So you will get, you're looking at maybe 69,000. So those are just some of the things to keep in the back. I was really hoping that with the one-time higher tax revenues that they saw due to the abnormalities of COVID, we'd see some excess revenue coming towards Chapter 90s or some of the state aid. But I imagine they're going to be socking a lot of it away, and we'll see some grant opportunities. But just some of the items we've been going over. So.
Great, thank you. You all set? Do you have a question, Mr. Titlebaum?
Yeah, I'm just going to make an observation. Alan can probably give you the exact year, but it's been a good 15 years that this damn state legislature has been stuck on $200 million for all of the municipal roadways in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. I think it was back in 2013, the legislature actually gave a $100 million bump to it. They jacked it up to 300 million. And then Deval Patrick, under his powers under general laws, Chapter 9C, slashed it right back to 200 million. He was a governor who was great for the state bureaucracy and maybe not so good for the municipal ones. I wish the Baker administration would push the legislature harder to do this kind of stuff. You know, we've got a huge federal infrastructure program. We've got money that's going to be cascading down to this state from the federal government. And why on earth they didn't think about that and jack this up when they knew they have the money coming in is beyond me. So that's just my statement. I'm really sorry that, so many of the roads in this town aren't in necessarily the best repair, but unfortunately we're stuck. We're not receiving the kind of aid that to really address the problem. The costs have certainly doubled in the last 15 years when it comes to paving. And so to keep it level funded is just madness, but that's my rant. Thank you.
Thanks for the rant. Mr. Sullivan, are you all set with your report, sir?
Yeah, and I think, it's made it to the papers, but you got the great report that the dredging looks receiving funding for the Army Corps of Engineer to do the survey and dredge. So that's really great. I'll leave it up to Selectman Slavin to reach out to Mr. Jepson if he hasn't heard the good news already.
Thank you, Fatty.
I'm going to now go to liaison and initiative reports, and I think I'll start with Mr. Manise.
At a Wareham Affordable Housing Trust meeting today, just 2 items: approved the last meeting minutes and also a housing assessment production plan finally. Mr. Buckland and his team, as well as a lot of people in the town, Mr. Slavin and our director of assessment and the Affordable Housing Trust have been working on this. So this will go to DC Department of Housing and Community Development for review, and hopefully everything will be good with that. That's a step towards, you can get a couple points for having that in place related to offsetting 40B housing. So that was a good thing. We'll be meeting next month. That was an out of sync meeting. We'll be meeting next month, the second Tuesday as usual. Also, tomorrow at 11:30 a.m., there's a meeting for the Parker Mill Pond Dam Study. It's an online meeting. Go to the calendar. You can click on that. It's going to be introductions and a consultant's presentation. I believe this is part of the, what was it, $175,000 grant we received for that?
Yep.
Am I correct on that, Mr. Sullivan?
Yes.
Yes or no?
Yes,
Okay, thank you. So I will hopefully be able to see that and listen to what they have to say. I'm very interested. So just wanted to let people know. That's about all I have to say for right now. Thank you.
thank you, Mr. Manise. Mr. Slavin,
I want to thank Town Administrator Sullivan for reading off my report to everybody. Saves me some time as far as the MMA meeting. And also Peter's correct exactly what happened. When I've been arguing at the MMA meetings with the Lieutenant Governor about Chapter 90, they always throw out to me, well, we gave you an extra $100 million. And I have to remind them that the former governor had that put aside. It was just sitting floating. They had to give it to us sooner or later. So again, the $200 million, if you go back to when it first started, is probably worth about 30 cents in today's dollars and costs. And after arguing with the Lieutenant Governor at the LGAC meeting, I've been basically not allowed to speak anymore. They have no sense of humor whatsoever there. The other thing that concerns me is what the governor kind of put out there was that within 2 years, 18 months to 24 months, they're expecting basically to run out of money with a lot of these programs because the federal government's been printing money like there's no tomorrow. And sooner or later, it's going to come to a halt because of not having anything to back up those funds. So we have to be a little careful what's happening, what's going on. There is a lot of infrastructure money coming if the federal government ever figures out how they're going to do it. And I'm hoping it's not going to be like the last time when former President Obama put a bunch of money out to try and get the country stimulated. And a lot of projects that were done were really personal favors, whatever you want to call it, but they really didn't do anything for the country at all. Bike Path Committee, I still have to get that going. I apologize. I have a meeting, I think it's on Thursday, with people from Marion as well and Serpent to talk about the Route 6 road change possibility and how it's going to affect the bike path for the two communities. Also, Community Events Committee is looking for nonprofits who are looking for funds to help them advertise and get their program started. It's wide open, so we have plenty of money. Appreciate people reaching out. And that's kind of it. Again, it's kind of disappointing that we need to watch very carefully. This is the governor's last 11 months or whatever. So whatever his pet projects are, simply those are the ones that are going to try and get finished no matter what. And anything else that's not on that list probably will get pushed aside. Thank you.
thank you. I've lost place. Mr. Titlebaum?
Nope, I'm good, thanks.
Thanks. Mr. Tropiano?
All set.
All set. Mr. Manise, you did yours, right?
I
Yes.
did.
you did. Okay. I went to the Board of Health meeting last week. They are continuing to work on their motel regulations. And they're also, they've divided the issues that are facing some of our citizens into the motels and then into the homeless. So they are actively looking for input. They invited the motel owners to the meeting last week. And I think there's some real progress being made. Jean Connaughton, who happens to sit on the Board of Health as an associate member, has other connections throughout the town. So she was able to bring some good information to the meeting. And that's it. Any other liaison reports? Any other business?
And Madam Chair, before we vacate for the evening, just one thing that I had on my mind. We've already been approved to auction off Everett. We've received the appraisal on that. I need to get electronic copies. I think I know you'd requested that, Selectman Meany, so I apologize that I don't have that yet. It'd come in at 560,000, so that was, I think the process they did for that was basing it on the highest and best use of a 40B. So I don't know if that's going to if we'll reach that number. Maybe we'll reach higher. I'm just putting it out there, but what I'd like to do is set that up for, if we want to do it properly, probably be around April to auction it off. If the board has changed its mind or anything, that we can certainly bring that next week and see what thoughts are. But if we're going to do that, might be worth doing West at the same time.
There's an issue with West, Mr. Bowen. Could you speak to the issue on West, please? You're muted, my dear.
Well, it wasn't on the agenda, but yes.
I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm sorry. I apologize, Mr. Bowen. You've been very helpful this week, and I apologize for blindsiding you twice.
Well, twice that the public knows about. I'll just say that some outside approvals are required in order to complete the transfer of the property, and I'm working on that.
Thank you. Mr. Sullivan, if you want that on the agenda, could you just email me and Ms. Slaney at the same time?
Sure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bowen. Anything else to come before this wonderful body? Yes, Mr. Slavin?
I'd like to thank our chairperson for all the hard work over the last couple of weeks, not just hours, but days of working, trying to get the purchase of the golf course in a very short period of time to the point to get it to our town meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Slavin. I have to say that you have been helpful, as have Mr. Pigeon and Mr. Gibberti. There's a team Whiteside that has been working on this, and I want to I want to make sure that everybody understands that. And now, Mr. Slavin?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Amen. Motion made to adjourn and second is not debatable. Mr. Tropiano,
Yes.
Mr. Titlebaum,
Yes.
Mr. Slavin,
Hell, yes.
Mr. Manise,
Yes.
myself, yes. Good night, Wareham. Thank you so much.